jack did, except I'm using a wire again, just to give it a little flexibility, but it's touching the motherboard in the same spot that the post would be, except we're using a wire. Hope that makes sense again, like I said, and we'll see how it turns out. Now I'm going to take the file again here, and this time I'm going to scuff up the back post of the power jack, which is the center pin. Comes out the back of the power jack. It's now becomes a post that goes into the motherboard. I'm going to attach our wire from this post to that solder point I created, but I need to scuff up and scratch up that post so the solder will stick, and that's what I'm doing with this file here. Just take the toothbrush and brush away any little metal particles. I'm going to take a little bit of solder. I'm going to drop it right on that back post. This could get a little tricky. That's why it's good to have a nice thin tip on the soldering iron. Definitely don't use a soldering gun for this kind of thing. You want something very fine. This is only 15-watt soldering iron. And this is the drop of solder I put on the back post of the power jack. Now we're going to cut a little piece of wire. We're going to attach it to the back post, and we're going to attach it to that solder point. Again, I'm using my little pliers here to strip the wire. Probably better use of wire cutters to do this, but I'm getting pretty good at doing it this way. The only danger of doing it that way for stripping the wire is you could actually cut the actual wire that you're trying to strip, so you don't want to do that. And again, I'm using my technique of just tinning the sides, the edges of these wires. Put a little solder on each point. You don't want to use too long of a wire, because remember, you have to stick this back into a confined area that may not have the space to fit a large wire, so that's why I use short wires to do this. Okay, I'm going to use the pliers to hold this in place. I'm going to try to zoom in and give you guys a better view here. Let's take the wire, put it in place. I guess it's not really that good of a view, but you'll see the finished product. And touch the wire to that solder point we created on the back of the post. Make sure that that's pretty solid. Pull it with some pliers there and make sure it's a good strong connection. I'm going to bend it so it fits right, it touches right at the other solder point on the motherboard. Okay, the end was a little too long, so I just cut a little bit off. You don't want too much metal showing on the end of these wires, because then it has a chance of short-circuiting. And I'm just going to take a little bit of solder. It's tough to get a good view here without my hands in the way. Sorry about that, guys, but I'll show you the finished product and you'll get the idea. And that's all it took. Just a little touch of the soldering iron. Let's pull it and see if it's secure. Right now it's going from the post to that solder point we created. And I think we got a winner. And this is what we accomplished. You will see that the wire we just installed there goes from the back post of the power jack and connects to that point we put right on the motherboard, that other solder point. It's basically acting, the wire is basically acting as the post would be, but again, I used it for flexibility. I love using the wires for flexibility because now the customer can be a little more reckless with the power jack and not worry about the brittle solder points breaking because they're both connected with wires now. You got flex. Just want to test it again with the pliers, make sure it's in there well. And we're good to go. Time to put some stuff away, which I'm going to speed up for you guys real quick here. Then we're going to put the rest of the computer back together. Now I'm going to take the CPU heatsink and CPU fan here. You see that broken metal? That's actually how it was removed from the processor. The processor has some metal on it as well. And we're going to have to get that off and probably put some thermal grease on the processor and make a better connection. See, I'm scraping off the metal that is broken. So a lot of times on laptops, the manufacturer